The right of the people to keep and bear arms when serving in the militia shall not be infringed.
Wouldn't that take away any limits to what a legislature could do to the rights of gun owners?
I think that's probably right, but I think that's what should be the rule, that it should be legislatures rather than judges who draw the line on what is permissible.
And you think that's because it's clearly this is what was intended?
Oh, I do think that was what was intended, because there was a fear among the original framers that the federal government would be so strong that they might destroy the state militias. The amendment would merely prevent arguments being made that Congress doesn't have the power to do what I think is in the best public interest.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Give Me Five. That, of course, is a retired Supreme Court Justice John Paul Stevens. He's got a new book called 6 Amendments. And the 6 amendments he would add to the Constitution, and most notably, an amendment that would change the Second Amendment to read that the right of the people to keep and bear arms when serving in the militia will not be infringed. Not sure what militia he's talking about, but it doesn't matter, because obviously, as Stephanopoulos asked him, wouldn't this just open it up for state legislatures to make any, infringements they want upon people's rights to own guns? And he said, yeah, absolutely. So good luck with that. But why do you need an amendment? Just have Obama sign an executive order. You don't need any of these amendments in the book to go the usual route for a constitutional amendment. Just Obama's got a pen, he's got a phone. What's the impediment? I don't see the problem. He's got an attorney general. Do it. Let's go to the next one.
But to be clear, if Congress passed a national ban on individual gun ownership, that would be constitutional under your amendment.
I think that's right.
Yeah, there you go. National ban on the right to own a gun. I think you'd get at least two. Kagan and Sotomayor would actually vote for that on the Supreme Court. But it's not up to the Supreme Court, when it comes to a constitutional amendment. All right, let's move on. And here's more from ex-Justice Stevens.
In another proposed amendment, Stevens targets Congress. He says that gerrymandering to, quote, preserve political power should be unconstitutional.
Pretty subjective, isn't it?
Well, it's subjective, but it's easily recognizable if you look at the shapes of the districts.
Okay, so gerrymandering would go completely. And then, of course, the talk turns to retirement. And what considerations should an aging Supreme Court justice, or a Supreme Court justice for whatever reason contemplating retirement, what consideration should they be using to time out their retirement? Let's watch.
Perhaps today there might be no chance for certainly the Second Amendment proposal, but the difficulty of the process shouldn't foreclose an attempt.
All right, that's the final word on the 6 amendments that he proposes in his book, which of course have no shot of ever coming to fruition, and let's be thankful for that, at least the ones I'm aware of. But let's go now to the question of timing.
I did not consider it.
You didn't? A lot of people think you did. No politics at all in your decision.
Well, my decision was not made for any political reason whatsoever. It was my concern about my own health.
Do you think it's something that justices should take into account?
I think so. I think certainly natural. It's an appropriate thing to think about your successor, not only in this job. I'm just finishing reading the book by former Secretary Gates. He thought a lot about his successor in job too. You're interested in the job and in the kind of work that's done. You have to have an interest in who's going to fill your shoes.
So if Justice Ginsburg came to you and asked your advice?
I'd say she doesn't need my advice. She really doesn't.
All right. Well, let's hope she stays on long enough for the Republican president to get to replace her. All right, folks. Thanks for giving me 5 right here on the Steve Malzberg Show on Newsmax Television.